Right? And in effect, this is another multiple angle. There's a coefficient on the variable, which at the last step, we're going to have to do something to fix, right? Still, isolate the trig function. Subtract 3, divide by 3. Tangent of x over 2 equals negative 3 over 3, which is negative 1. And this does not have 0 to 2 pi, so we have to find all the solutions. So where does tangent equal negative 1? Remember, since tangent is sine over cosine, that's like saying the sine and the cosine are exactly opposite of each other. Where are the sine and the cosine exactly opposite of each other? 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. In fact, it'll be 3 pi over 4 plus pi plus pi plus pi, every n pi around. It equals the same thing again. So we'll go over here, we'll say, when this argument, x over 2, equals, what do we say, 3 pi over 4. Plus n pi. And then as the last step, multiply by 2, right? So multiply all this by 2. Now we've got x equals 2 times 3 pi over 4 will be 3 pi over 2 plus 2 pi times n. These problems actually are more difficult sometimes when they are between 0 and 2 pi, right? Because in the end, if you had a problem like this, let's see how this would work. Let's say they just said 0 to 2 pi, right? I'm going to make this in a different color. You know, what if it did say between 0 and 2 pi? Then when we go to the unit circle, we find this 5 pi. You know, you could say, well, it's this one and it's this one, and you would only have those two to look at, right? And then when you multiply by 2, right, I would say 3 pi over 4 it actually was x over 2 is 3 pi over 4, and x over 2 equals 7 pi over 4. Right. When I multiply times 2, right, this one becomes 3 pi over 2. But when I multiply this one by 2, I'm going to get 7 pi over 2. And that's not between 0 and 2 pi anymore. Because we multiplied at the last step, we have to discard the second answer because it's not in the domain anymore. Right? If we had done the same thing on the previous problem where it was not a half multiplying, but times a 3, what it would mean is if we had to say all the values between 0 and 2 pi, we would actually go around the circle 3 times to find all those values. Because when you divide them by 3, they end up being between 0 and 2 pi. So these problems are more difficult when it's limited to 0 to 2 pi. You don't get the number of answers you think you're going to get. It's actually a little easier if it doesn't have the 0 to 2 pi. So that was that one.